walked into prison.
Yeah.
And before I got to my cell, I had a drink.
Yeah.
I had a smoke. And I had a knife.
Yeah.
Before I got to my cell, I didn't even know where I was
Yeah.
sleeping.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Inside Out. I'm so glad you're here. I want to welcome our Apple and Spotify listeners. You're finding your way to YouTube, and I'm glad you are. Now, YouTube's a little different. You need to actually subscribe, and you need to leave a comment. The algorithm loves that and ends up helping us share the show more. So thanks for doing that. Today's show is very, very special to me. This is an incredible story. This gentleman was sentenced to 212 years of federal time by a federal judge. And as we get into his story, and he's going to tell it, I'm just kind of here to help him tell it. But it's an amazing story. And Adam Clausen is a free man today. And he's a free man short of 50 years of age. And it's a huge blessing. But there's some stories that you're going to hear today that help you think about what's inside of you that may still not be out yet. That's what Inside Out's all about. Chasing your potential, digging deep, doing the hard work to become who you're supposed to be. So today, with great honor, I want to welcome my special guest, Adam Clausen. Thanks for being here, bud.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Great. And so, Adam, let's go back. Obviously, when they see you on camera today, there's no way this guy got 212 years in a federal prison. You look great. You're obviously take great care of yourself. You've always been, I looked at all the pictures as I read your story. You're a good-looking guy. You've always been a good-looking guy. I'm sure your charm probably had you in a life of crime longer than you should have been. Let's go back to your childhood. What did that look like?
It's a good place to start. So, yeah, I know despite appearances, I spent a lot of time in prison, but that's not where it started out, right? Like everybody wants to know, like, how did you end up, with a 213-year prison sentence?
Right.
And for me, I have thought a lot about this, traced it back to my parents split when I was 6 years old. And my mom, I give her all the credit. Like she was one of those, in the 80s, one of those hard-working women who wanted to do it on her own.
Yeah.
And she struck out to do that. She worked long hours, went to school at night. And me as an only child, that, left me with a lot of time to get into things that I probably had no business being into.
Yeah.
And that meant, back then you could be out all night long or late at night. And, it's funny, I saw a clip recently that said, remember in the 90s or the 80s or the 70s, we had television commercials that said, hey, parents, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are?
Yeah, right.
That's how things were back then. And to be out, at different hours with the neighborhood kids, that wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But I look back on that, being the youngest kid in the neighborhood who was hanging out with older guys. I was looking for some sort of connection.
Yeah.
And I found it in all the wrong places, even from an early age.
Yeah. Were you attracted to the rougher crowd as a kid?
I'm going to say that's just the crowd that I was exposed to.
Okay.
Right?
So there weren't really choices. There's not a church crowd, a Boy Scout crowd, and then the rough crowd. It was pretty much the neighborhood was rough.
It was the neighborhood was rough. The kids were rough. Kids fought back then.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
It was you got a problem? Let's take
go.
it.
Yeah.
Let's take it out in the street.
Yeah.
And that's how we settled things.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate that, it didn't affect me too badly.
Yeah, right. So as a kid, you just found yourself really hanging with the wrong reference group. That group almost shaped who you were at that time.
It started to. So I'm in school, and as an only child who's looking for connection, I'd get to school, and for me, it was just an opportunity to be with other kids, and I wanted to talk, and I wanted to, engage with them, and that got me in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? And honestly, it was really just about talking too much, and I couldn't sit still, and I couldn't keep my mouth shut. I had a lot of energy.
Yeah, energy guy, yeah.
And teachers didn't like that. They wanted me to just sit down, be quiet.
Conform.
And I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And that ended with me being out in the hallway. Now I'm labeled as a bad kid.
Yeah, right.
And that it's a point where I have a teacher who, in a moment of frustration, is yelling at me, and she's like, "You're going to end up in prison one day."
Wow.
And I was
Wow.
about 10 years old at that time.
Wow.
So I've already got this label as being a bad kid
Yeah.
because I talk too much. Now I'm going to end up in prison one day.
Right.
Now I find myself in situations that are more confrontational in school. I'm getting into fights,
Yeah.
Principal's office, and it's like, it's
Is mom coming to
escalating.
school? Is mom coming to school
Oh,
to meet with the
God.
principal
Yeah,
and sit
yeah.
with you and have them lecture her about your kid? And
Oh, you can imagine how that goes
Right.
because mom's hardworking, right?
Yeah.
And now she's getting calls
To leave work.
To leave work, come deal with your son.
Yeah.
And I didn't appreciate that as a child, like
Yeah.
the significance or the burden that was on her.
Right.
But I can only imagine that I was a handful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And you're an only child, so there's not another brother or sister there to kind of help. It's just you, the world, and mom.
Just the two of us against the world at this point.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, my mom came from a big family, so I had cousins like around town.
Yeah.
But we were kind of isolated, not isolated from them, but we weren't as connected.
Yeah. You're not there on the weekends
Yeah.
with those kids. What city are we in where all this is happening?
We're in Wisconsin, so
Got it.
outside of Milwaukee, a place called Racine, Wisconsin.
Got it.
That's up until the age of 10, that's where I lived. And pivotal point in my life was my mom, finishes up college, job recruiters start coming and giving her opportunities.
Okay.
My mom wants a fresh start for us, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm getting in trouble. She's got this great career opportunity.
Yeah.
Willing to pack up and go. Like, it's an adventure. And that's kind of how it's framed.
Okay.
And she takes a job on the East Coast, just outside of Philadelphia, South Jersey.
Wow.
And talk about a culture shock,
Sure.
right? From the
Wisconsin.
the Midwest
Right.
to the East Coast, very different.
For sure.
And now I'm not the troublemaker yet.
Yeah.
I'm just the odd kid. The kid
from
who must
Wisconsin.
have grew up on a farm in Wisconsin.
Talks funny, maybe.
Yep,
Little
talks
Fargo-ish.
funny, all that.
Right. I can see it. Yeah.
You get it, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And since I'm already a little high-strung,
Yeah.
kind of aggressive,
A propensity to cause trouble. You've kind of already in that lane.
I've cultivated that, yep.
Yeah.
So I end up at this new school with new kids, and I mean, it doesn't take long before I'm like,
With your crowd.
yeah, I'm in the thick of things, and mom's getting more phone calls from the principal.
Right.
Come deal with this kid. And although in my youth I was a standout athlete,
Yeah, sure.
that gave me some opportunities and probably gave me a little bit of extra latitude.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, sure.
Where
Yeah, a little cushion from the coaches and the teachers
yeah,
even.
They did. They
Yeah.
definitely gave me a little bit more room to move.
Yeah.
Kept me out of some trouble, but I just pushed further and further until, there wasn't really anything anybody could do for me.
Yeah. Would you say, I'm trying to analyze this, and I'm
Sure.
certainly not a clinician capable of doing this, but I just want to understand
Shoot,
this.
yeah.
You're clearly qualified to run an organization, run a company, maybe even be a high-level politician, in my opinion. We've met. You and I have had several great conversations. I'm thinking as a kid, your wiring is already mature. Even as a 10, 12-year-old moving to South Philly, you probably have a sense that you know what's going on. And you don't maybe have judgment for the risks, but you certainly are confident and willing to enter into dangerous lanes. Am I right?
I would say that's very accurate.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm thinking that, and this may be true of a lot of people watching, okay? Where there's a choice, right? There's a choice we make because a lot of people with your capacity end up running for president. They end up running big corporations, and some end up in the South streets of Philly doing other stuff, right? But they don't have to stay there, right? There's some choices all along the way where it can get worse or it can get better. So what happens now? We're high school? We're a high school athlete? Take us through it.
Yeah, coming into high school, that proverbial fork in the road, there were a number of them. That first one, I think coming out of grade school, this is back in, it would have been 1990 was the year.
Okay.
I'm going to become a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
And unlike today, this is kind of common, they recruit kids to high schools to play sports.
Sure.
Back then it was unheard of. So when the papers got a hold of it,
Yeah.
that we were all being recruited, it was a big deal.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And for me, I was like, okay, this is great. Like,
Yeah.
this is my opportunity. I'm going to a college prep.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to open doors.
Can you tell us the college prep? Which school was this?
Bishop Eustace.
Wow. Okay.
So Bishop Eustace Preparatory, which is just outside of Philadelphia, Pensacola, New Jersey.
Right.
And at
People
the time,
in Philly will know this place.
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah.
big time school there.
they'll
yeah.
know it. And you know, it was a tremendous opportunity. I was excited to get a fresh start. Right?
Yeah. Are you wanting a fresh start, or are you thinking you're the bad kid? I mean, who do you think you are at this time?
At this point, like,
Are you both?
I think I'm a little bit of both. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a preference?
I wanted a fresh start, right?
You did.
Yeah, I did.
You want to be a good kid.
I'm not going to say I want to be a good kid.
Who do you think you wanted to be at this point? Can you go back? I mean, because clearly you're living two lives here.
Two different lives. So here in my young, immature thinking is, okay, I can go and play ball. It's going to get me through high school.
Yeah.
It's going to get me off to college. No idea what I want to do in life.
Sure.
But it's going to get me there. In the meantime, I can still be out in the streets
And you enjoyed it.
doing things. I did. I enjoyed probably the excitement
The
of
adrenaline?
it. I was definitely looking for the adrenaline.
Yeah.
I was looking for something to fill that void.
Yeah, yeah.
Because honestly, I'm stealing cars. I'm stealing motorcycles. I'm driving around. Clearly, don't have a license at this stage.
Yeah.
And doing a lot of things that I look back and I'm like, oh my God, like.
Yeah.
Testing boundaries, but like going well beyond what normal youth do to test those boundaries.
Well, we may have a cautionary gut that says, oh man, I'm not up for that. You don't seem to have that.
I do now.
You do now.
Just to be clear, I do now.
Yeah. But you didn't have that then.
No.
Was there a boundary? Hey, I'm not doing that. I won't do that.
I can't tell you definitively that there was, because really
whatever was introduced, you were up for it.
Pretty much. And good that you point that out. Whatever was introduced, it's not like I sought out other things like the drugs and the alcohol. Yeah. Those were things that I got introduced to.
Yeah.
And like every other thing that I was testing boundaries,
yeah,
I did the same with those.
Okay.
So I did everything at that point in my life to the absolute extreme.
Maxed.
Like, how fast can I go?
Yeah.
How far can I take this?
Yeah.
How much can I drink? Like,
is there some momentum coming from all this where you're not getting caught? You're not doing time yet. You've not been maybe arrested yet.
Oh no, I was definitely arrested by that point.
Okay. When was your first arrest?
11, I think.
11 years of age.
About 11 years old.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Wow. So what's that look like to an 11-year-old boy? I mean, did the police come to the house? I mean, what's happening at 11?
The first interaction at 11
with the authorities
might have been like, it was either like a vandalism or
shoplifting.
Might have been shoplifting in there. There was a culmination of things. Like,
okay.
So,
do you recall when the police first interacted with you as a boy? Like what that was like? Was there fear involved, or are you trying to game it? What's happening at 11?
Yeah, there was no fear of the police.
Fear.
Not at all.
These are the bad guys.
Yes.
These are the bad guys.
I viewed them as the bad guys, and I'm not sure who instilled that early on.
Right.
Certainly didn't come from my family. It came from people outside of the home.
Yeah.
But they instilled like, these are the bad guys.
We're trying to avoid them.
Run.
Yeah.
You hear sirens, you run.
Right.
So that's like instinctual at this
Interesting.
point. I see the lights. I hear the sirens. I'm gone.
Yeah. At 11.
Good luck. Catch me. That's my thinking all the time now.
Interesting.
And part of it was, as a child, I started to feel like I looked around me and I saw what everyone else had.
Okay.
I didn't see a means.
Yeah, there's some material desire there.
Material desire, and I did not yet have the capacity
to do it.
To go and get it myself.
Yeah.
for me, it wasn't like, okay, you can get a job and you can go to work and you can earn some money.
An allowance, right.
It was like, figure out a way to get that, to
Yeah.
take it, to
Yeah.
steal it. And that
have it.
became the mindset.
Yeah. Interesting.
Just go get it.
And you're with older guys, because this has got to be coming from guys you looked up to. There's no way you would be, you're a leader. So there's no way you're just looking up to guys and being led around. They must be mentor types to you.
And clearly that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I was looking
Big
for
brothers.
some sort of, I think all young men need a strong male role model.
For sure.
We
For
need
sure.
that. We need that guidance, right?
100%.
And if you don't have it, if it's not coming from the house, from the home,
Yeah.
you're going to find it elsewhere.
That's right.
It's what tends to happen. We see a lot of that in prison.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's what happened with me. And it was there were people who took advantage of that.
Yeah.
That willingness that I would push those boundaries. I would do some crazy things.
Yeah.
And some of the older guys were like, that's a good kid
Yeah,
right
let's
there. Like,
bring him in close.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So let's talk about the first time you went inside. How old were you when you went inside a facility, a prison, a jail, whatever?
Well, let's back up one, because the first time they came for me
Okay.
was the FBI came to that high school.
The FBI,
The FBI.
comes for a high school kid.
For a high school kid. Comes to
Wow.
that college
My
prep.
goodness. Wow.
And they show up in the main office, which, this is a college campus
Oh, sure.
setting, all separate buildings.
Yeah.
I get the word, hey, the FBI is up in the front office looking for you. I'm like, oh, God, like, run.
Okay, so there is a bit of fear there. Like, oh boy, this has gotten heavy and fast.
Maybe a little bit of fear, but it just like instinctually, you need to run.
Leave campus.
What I hear is, don't worry about it. The priest, the Father Ralph is up there taking care of it. And basically the conversation went along the lines of, can I help you? And two FBI agents said, yeah, we'd like to talk to one of your students. We're looking through some yearbooks here. We have some, questions for him. He said, do you have a warrant? And they were like, well, no, we just want to ask a couple questions. He said, until you get a warrant, get the hell out of here.
Wow. Get off our campus.
And I'm like, all right, they're looking out for me.
Protecting you. Yeah.
That wasn't the case, because it was shortly thereafter
Yeah.
when they asked me
You got to leave.
to leave.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was kind of some of the background there. Right around the same time, I had just gotten my license. So now
Driver's license.
I can legally drive now.
Okay.
Yes.
So at 16, the FBI has showed up at your high school.
Yep.
Mercy.
Yep. 16. That's the first time.
Okay.
And then I end up
You're thrown off that campus.
pretty much. Well, I was asked to leave at that point,
Yeah.
and they later came back with the decision. They're like, listen, you just need to stay away. We don't want you to come back.
Yeah. Okay.
It was more or less like, you're bringing heat to this place.
Right.
And
we've got donors. We've got just serious stuff happening here.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Your athleticism is not enough.
You're not that important.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah.
So do you go to another school?
That should have been the plan, right? Because I had it lined up for college.
Yeah.
Already, given verbal intent.
Yeah.
To go down to Jacksonville.
Okay.
Again, looking for that. Let me just get a fresh start, clean slate. I can get away from all of this, because at this point I already have a DWI.
Wow.
And that's what puts me in that prison cell for the first time,
Okay.
I think, like in a cell.
Okay. So in your little boy mind, you're thinking, I need a fresh start. You're thinking that several times here.
Yeah.
The private high school was a chance to start over. Now get to Jacksonville, that's a chance to start over. So it's interesting, isn't it, that your internal instincts tell you this is not right. Even if nobody else is telling you that, your internal insides are telling you this is wrong. This is a bad path. This has no future to it. But that's kind of the life you have, right? And mom's got to be going crazy.
Oh.
Mom's got to be going crazy. She cannot control you.
No.
She knows it. You know it. And there's probably a lot of disrespect there. Kind of like, my mom, don't come on. Don't tell me what to do. I got this under control. Is that what's happening with mom?
That's pretty accurate right there.
Right. I got this. Don't give me a hard time, Mom. I'm having a hard time with the FBI. Yeah. Don't give me a hard time at my house. Gosh.
The FBI ultimately did show up at the house too. And that was a pretty traumatic experience for my mom because, again, I'm underage. I'm not 18.
Is it the same 2 agents that keep showing up?
This was like 6 or 7 agents this time.
Oh.
And this was over...
Multiple cars are in front of the house.
They actually barricaded me in my car in the neighborhood.
God.
Pretty much ran me off the road.
We're going to now meet with you.
Took me back to the house. Yep.
Wow.
This is, I want to say it was on a weekend.
Okay.
All of them were technically off duty at the time.
Okay.
Again, I don't know this. I don't fully understand the law. I just know I don't want to go with these guys.
Yes.
Right? But this is over a firearm that I stole from one of them.
Oh, you've got a firearm from a federal law enforcement agent.
So you can imagine how that went.
Wow.
He was in some hot water. I'm pretty sure all of this was being done off the books.
Okay.
With his buddies.
Yes.
But I'm a guy that's been on their I'm a kid that's been on their radar for a while now, and they're like, "Listen, we're going to teach this kid a lesson.
We're going to scare him to death."
I think they wanted more than that, right?
Okay.
If I'm being perfectly honest about it, I think they wanted more than to just scare me. They were mad enough.
Yeah.
Egos bruised enough at this point where, and as a kid, to be fair, I was extremely arrogant.
Yeah.
Like, especially once they had me,
yeah,
in the room, I just basically, there was no respect for them, for their authority.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we sit down at the kitchen table with my mom, who is just like beside herself.
Yeah. And she's properly scared. She's properly in respect of these men and their jobs. Yes. And you're not.
Well, and again, this is a different era.
Sure.
Right? This is the 90s.
Sure.
People more then than they do now had a great deal of respect for the FBI.
Absolutely.
And it was like,
these are white hat officials.
Ooh, yeah. They're lawyers with badges.
That's right. Yeah, the good guys.
Good guys, all of them. Yep. So we sit down at the kitchen table, and the conversation around, where this firearm is, and I'm lying to him about anything and everything.
Where is the firearm?
In somebody else's possession at this time.
All right, but you know that. How did you get it, Adam? If you don't mind telling us, how did you get this firearm from?
I took it from one of them. They left it in a place that I could access it. Like, so I took that and a number of other things of theirs.
Why were you in a place where they were?
It was his house.
Oh, were you burglarizing his home?
His car. His car was outside.
Okay.
But his home
you figured
was right
out
there.
Where he lived. You knew he was an FBI official?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the motive was at that time, if I'm being honest.
I know there's been a lot of criminal activity, so it's probably tough to separate it all.
Yeah.
But you have an FBI official's weapon.
Yes.
And other things. Do you have his identification, his badge, perhaps?
Pretty sure.
Because that would have been very appealing if you found all that in a car.
I did. I had a bunch of stuff. I don't remember what else it was at the time. Obviously, the gun was the primary concern.
Absolutely.
Because it's a registered firearm to an FBI agent.
What type of weapon is this? This is a .45. What is this?
I think it was a .38.
Okay, a .38.
Whatever the issue was at that time.
Okay. This is whatever their official weapon is. It's not a personal weapon. It's an official issued weapon from the Bureau.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So how do they figure out it's you?
I mean, they start their investigation, which very quickly leads, we're kids, right? There were other people who knew.
Oh, we're going to tell.
We're
going to tattletale.
It leads them right back to me.
Okay.
And so ultimately, this is how we end up at the kitchen table.
Okay. How long from when you took the weapon until we're at the kitchen table? What kind of time frame?
I couldn't tell you.
A couple weeks?
Maybe a couple weeks.
Because they got to figure it out and then get to you. And then come up with their little plan to kind of run you off the road as off-duty guys. They had to concoct a plan. Yeah. So you think they had not reported that to their
I don't think so.
Yeah, right.
I don't.
That I left it in the car. It was unlocked. Some teenager got it. Yeah, he's not going to report that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure at this point that that
Okay.
this was being done off the books.
Okay.
So they were really like testing their authority.
Yeah.
That's why it happened on a Saturday with all of them together. It was just the whole thing was kind of fishy. So I'm playing into this, like the confidence.
You don't know it's off duty though at this moment.
I don't.
Later you put it together.
Later, I mean, looking
Yeah.
back on this, but even like I think back now, the level of arrogance that I had.
Oh no, it's crazy.
And I could, like, I can't lie anymore,
Yeah.
right? Like, I have a real issue. I can't.
Yeah,
I just
right,
can't lie.
right.
I'm not a good liar.
Right,
now.
right.
But back then, like, I
With
think,
ease.
and I'm like, with ease, it
Yeah.
just flowed out. And
Interesting.
then as we're walking out the door, to be honest, I'm pretty sure that they were convinced I had nothing to do with this, that they had the wrong information. They knew I was involved in some other stuff. They're like, maybe it wasn't really him on this.
Interesting.
And I had to just throw this jab to say, let's just say I did know where this thing was.
Oh.
And I could get it back to you, but I didn't want anybody else to get in trouble. How would I go about doing that? And they just stopped.
Oh my goodness.
And I remember my mom stopped and was like,
I'm asking for a friend.
oh my God. Oh my
I'm
God.
asking for a friend. What a question.
I think she wanted to push me out the door at that point. But
Wow.
and that, I think that kind of sealed my fate to a degree because I made some enemies in that moment, specifically with that gentleman.
Yeah.
Because years later, he would
Really?
he would show up at my trial
No way.
where I received the 213 years, despite the fact that he was since retired.
Wow.
Yeah.
A retired offended FBI agent shows up
Yes.
to cast his stone at your fate.
Yes.
Okay. How many years later was that?
So 16, 24, 8.
Wow.
About
What a
8 years.
grudge.
Yeah.
What a grudge he held.
Yeah.
Okay, so take me from that table. I'm assuming they leave. Do you get that weapon back to them?
Eventually, yes.
You do.
Yes.
You want to tell how?
Took a little bit of doing to get it back from where it was, but
You got it back, but you get it back to them.
ultimately it gets back to them.
Okay.
Yes.
I know we don't want to talk about uncharged crimes on the podcast, but,
But I mean,
but
listen,
is there
I
a
think
way
all
to tell the story?
statutes of limitations have all run their course at this point.
Okay.
And I don't remember how it was all
Yeah.
actually resolved.
Yeah.
And again, it definitely was not amicably, right? It wasn't like,
Yeah, it's not like, hey, this guy's a hero. Thank you for bringing this back.
Yeah, no.
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 You're not getting the key to the city for bringing this gun back, right?
No, but that like really, from that point forth, kind of set me on a course
Yeah.
to where local law enforcement,
You're on
the
everybody's
FBI,
radar.
I'm definitely on everybody's radar, and it's not a good thing. And it's just, now I have this label. I mean, school officials,
Yeah.
my peers, everybody.
Law enforcement
What started early on as being the bad kid, a troublemaker,
is firm.
yeah, it's
It's cast in stone, if you will.
at this point, yeah.
At this point, yeah.
That label is there, and it's so when I'm asked to leave high school
Yep.
and not come back, honestly, at that point, all they wanted me to do for college, just graduate, come down here. You can redshirt the first year. You know what I mean?
Which
And it's
sport are you going to play down there?
Basketball.
Got it.
So it really is. It's a fresh start, and that opportunity was still right there despite all the other problems.
Wow. What an amazing.
But at this point, inside, I'm falling apart.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there was always something missing, and maybe that's either I was running from or trying to see how far I could push to find whatever it is I was looking for.
Yeah.
Just wasn't being fulfilled.
Yeah.
So this is where I start to turn to the drugs, the alcohol, those things that I've been introduced to, but
You were staying away from it at this point until now.
not staying away from, but like sporadically.
Yeah. It wasn't a priority.
Yeah, at this point it becomes, at some point it transitioned to become a daily thing.
All right. An addiction.
I'm a kid, a high school kid who is now drinking every single day.
Yeah.
I'm not eating well, knowing what I know now about health, nutrition.
Yeah.
I'm not sleeping. I'm an insomniac. I sleep maybe an hour or two at a time. I'm drinking excessively every single day.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting to go out of my mind.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely.
You're unraveling.
I'm unraveling. My relationship with my mom is just...
She can't deal with it.
No. It was first strained, but now it's just like...
Yeah.
It's been eviscerated. So there's very little relationship. I leave.
You have no guidance. You're on your own.
Yeah. I leave the house and end up... I'm literally living in a motel.
Wow.
Committing, burglaries.
What age?
Some robberies, 17.
Wow.
Just turned 18.
You're paying cash to the front desk to stay in the hotel.
Yep.
You're bringing them cash every day.
And you can imagine the kinds of places that we're talking about.
Sure.
They're the kinds of places, because I'm not fully of age.
Yeah.
A lot of these places just don't want to rent, or I don't feel like I have any other options. It's not like other...
It's homeless or this. It's homeless or this.
Yep. And this is what it is. So I'm living out of this motel room, drinking.
Yeah.
And I get a phone call from a guy who's like, hey, man, like this situation just happened. I need you. Man, where you at? I tell him where I am. He says, I'm coming to get you. And it's me, and there's another guy there with me. And he's like, man, you got that thing. You got a gun. And I was like, I do.
Okay.
And I think that this guy's in trouble.
Okay.
So...
You're his friend? This guy that calls
I'm
him?
his friend. He's a little bit older.
Okay.
And...
Like 22? How old? You're 18.
Maybe 22.
All right.
No, maybe older than that.
All right.
Maybe a few years older.
And you've got a gun.
In that range.
And he knows you've got a gun.
He knows I've got a gun.
Serial number scratched off this gun?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably.
Would you have bought it scratched off, or you scratched it off?
One
Don't
or
know.
The other.
Okay. All right.
Know.
So you've got
could be either one. Right?
I got you. So you've got an unmarked gun, unregistered weapon.
Yep.
And he knows it.
He knows
Call
it.
Adam. He's got one.
And I feel the people around me, I have always had a very strong sense of loyalty.
Yeah.
And
sure.
I have given that loyalty to many people who are undeserving.
Sure.
This guy being one of them.
Yeah.
But in this circumstance, and clearly I'm not sleeping, I'm drinking, like
Yeah.
I'm not thinking clearly by any means. So he tells me, hey, we're going to go see these guys. I'm like, absolutely, let's go. Come get me.
I'm in on it. Yeah.
He comes, picks me up at this seedy motel, and as we are driving around out, there's only room for like one car to come through.
Okay.
And a police car, cruiser, pulls in and blocks us.
Nose to nose.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, that's strange.
Yeah.
That's odd that they show up at this time.
Yeah, we've not done anything yet.
And then behind me, I see out of my peripheral something coming towards the glass. I'm reaching for the gun.
Wow.
This is my state of mind at the time, right?
Wow.
I reached for the gun.
Wow.
Thankfully, that whatever it was that busted through the window, whether it was the shotgun or whatever, came through, was enough to daze me, that I wasn't able to pull that gun up.
What came through the window, Adam?
I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't know what they broke the window with.
So
if
is
it
police,
was
the police
shotgun.
did this?
It's the police.
They're
It's
behind you and in front of
It's a
you.
SWAT team that has
And they're shutting the two of you down.
converged on this car. This car is not going anywhere. This guy's not trying to drive anywhere, right?
Right.
He is not a getaway driver. He has driven me into this. But in the moment, I don't understand that I've just been set up.
Wow.
Yeah. And here they are. They pull me in. I'm lucky to have survived that.
Yeah.
And that was only one of
You
a
think
couple.
that was a weapon, ballistic munitions that came through that window?
I don't think it was munitions. I think it might have been the barrel of a gun.
Oh.
The butt of a gun.
Or a
Shotgun. Whatever it was.
baton,
Yeah.
whatever.
They had something that... And
It dazed you enough.
Dazed me enough
that
to
you
slow
could
me
not
down.
use the weapon.
Thank God.
It stayed brandished.
Thank God.
All right. All right.
Thank God it was still concealed. They pull me out.
They pull him out too?
Well, gently
All right.
removed him from the car,
This
put him
was
in
a setup.
handcuffs.
This was a setup.
Yeah, he's standing there in handcuffs. I'm on the ground being mashed into the pavement.
Got it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Going,
Yes.
this doesn't look right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's in cuffs, but clearly we're not experiencing the same thing
treatment.
here.
Yeah, he's getting the elderly treatment.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So anyways, that's where I end up in local custody. Guess who comes to see me again?
FBI.
Same crew, and they're pretty excited.
Oh, yeah, we got
Excited
you where we
that,
want you.
yeah, now I'm in here. And
Why are we in here? Why were we arrested?
for a string of burglaries and a couple of robberies.
And you have a weapon.
And I have a weapon.
Yeah.
So despite the fact that I've just turned 18, I'm still, quote unquote, a kid.
Yeah.
And everybody in this county jail is going, kid, don't worry about it. You're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
They're going to give you a slap on the wrist. I'm like, I don't think so.
No.
They're like, listen, we've seen this before. Yeah, that's not how it went.
Okay.
Went to court, end up finally, the feds keep coming. Eventually they give up, go away. But now I have to consolidate 2 different counties, get all these cases together. They gave me 12 years.
Okay.
Which was a deal.
Did you agree to 12?
I ultimately agreed to 12
There's
years.
no trial. You do a plea bargain for 12 years.
Yeah.
And it felt like a discount.
I guess at the time, yeah.
Sentencing guidelines 25 plus, and you go for 12?
No, I don't think it's not like the feds. This is state. I mean, 12 years. When I came back, guys were like, you got 12 years.
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen?
Okay.
They're like, you're just a kid. I'm like, well, clearly they didn't think that.
They weren't looking at the birth certificate on this. Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it worked out. Ultimately,
State crimes.
So I end up going upstate.
Okay.
End up, state prison, but it's a quote unquote youth correctional facility.
Okay.
Which means basically 18 to 35.
All right.
Whoever thought it was a good idea to put just 18 to 35
Oh,
year,
boy.
like, no.
Terrible.
Terrible idea.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time on the yard, played a lot of basketball. They joke about prison rules basketball, and it's for real.
Sure. For sure.
A little bit more football than it is basketball, but,
And don't call fouls.
no fouls.
Don't call your own fouls, please.
No.
Right.
So, and honestly, like when I walked in there was a lot of guys that I knew from growing up who had quote unquote graduated
Okay.
to prison. This is where they now are. So I walk in, they're like, oh, hey.
Okay. These are guys you knew from other trouble
Yeah.
in Philly. Not Wisconsin.
No, not Wisconsin. This is from Jersey.
Jersey, Philly.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
you know some of
this is
these
a
guys.
Jersey State prison.
Okay.
Yep, a bunch of guys from the neighborhood, from the area. So
right.
I walk in and I'm welcome. Like,
Yeah.
hey, welcome.
Yeah. So this is your crew. You don't want to be tied up, but if you're going to be tied up, be good to be with some guys you know.
Yep.
All right. So is there any change that occurs in you internally with this? You've been put down. I mean, it's a full time out now. What do you do? 6, 7 years there?
No. So I had 12 years initially, and it was supposed to be a 4-year mandatory minimum.
Okay.
Well, I stayed in the law library, find a little bit of a loophole under the gun law that technically as a first-time offender, as an adult, I technically should have had an opportunity to get this reduction down to a 9-year with a 3-year mandatory minimum, which was the low end.
Yeah, sure.
Still got a mandatory minimum that, you got to do before you see
Yes.
parole and all of that. But ultimately, I get a judge to say, you know what?
I agree.
Yeah, you got a point here.
Okay.
And that judge was about ready to let me walk out the door with time served.
Okay.
But we had a prosecutor that
How much time had been served at this point when the judge sees it?
I had served, I was right at 3 years.
Okay.
So, and at the time, Jersey State parole is backed up about a year.
Yeah.
So I've done about 3 years, and here we are in court. Judge is getting ready to let me out. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
The prosecutor says, no. Since we didn't waive this, he still has a mandatory minimum of 3 years, 3 months, and he has to go see parole. So the judge is like you're telling me my job here?
Yeah,
The judge was
right.
pretty upset, but prosecutor has a point. unfortunately, I'm going to have to give you the 3 years, 3 months. You're going to have to go see parole. And I'm like, I was like, there goes the time off, right? Like, it's going to be a year before I see parole.
That's
anyways.
4 years. Yeah.
But fortunately, somehow I did get in to see parole early.
Okay.
I saw them on my date, and they agreed to turn me loose.
Interesting.
So,
big break.
Big break.
Big break. Who? Now, you're going to get out.
I'm getting out.
Who receives you when you get out?
Who would you think would be the one person
I would hope Mom.
Mom's the one person, right?
I'm hoping Mom's still there. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. Thank God for Mom.
Wow.
Believe me, I every day.
Yeah.
When I get the opportunity, I let her know how much I appreciate her.
Oh yeah.
because of everything I put her through.
Yeah.
So despite everything, still have a fractured relationship, but it's trying to mend that.
Sure.
Mom is the one who's gonna come pick me up. So she pulls up to the prison. I walk out the door, and as we're driving away, it's quiet, and we're just driving down the road, and tears start streaming down my face.
Wow.
And my mom looks over at me, and I vividly recall she's gripping the steering wheel. And she's like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
And what I heard was anger, right? Like, "What's wrong with you?" And honestly, my mom was just afraid. She was frustrated. She was scared. She didn't know how to deal with what she was seeing.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to deal with what I was feeling.
Yeah.
It's just uncontrolled emotion that's pouring out of me. Clearly, I've had all of this stuff down inside.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I said, man, I just got to package it all back down inside, push it down, deal with it. I'll be all right.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I'm being honest about it, I went right back to doing the same things that I had done before, really to mask what was underneath.
Yeah.
Right back to the drinking, right back to the drugs.
Did in that car, when she says this and you're crying, is there a conversation? Or are you able to say to her, nothing's wrong with me? Or, I don't know, Mom? Or, I mean, what's the answer to that question?
I don't know. I don't think I tried to articulate anything.
Yeah.
I think it was just my gut response was like, just bottle it back up.
Yeah. You're probably seeing your mother's weak and fragile and not understanding the complication of the situation, so you're just going to not have the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a conversation either of us were equipped to have at that time.
Right. Emotionally unequipped to have it.
Yeah.
I get that.
And there was no one to really turn to and say, hey, like, this is what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
Like, I need some help here.
Yeah.
I didn't have anybody
You kind of needed
like
to
that.
talk it out. I mean, that was a conversation that needed to be had, but she couldn't have it. This is her boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny, you use the exact words, what is wrong with you? And she didn't mean the tears. She meant, how is my son continuing to get in all this trouble? What is wrong with you? Because she's trying to figure out, I didn't raise you like this.
Yeah.
That's in her mind, right?
Sure.
God.
Yep.
Okay, so when you say you get right back into it, how long? How long does it take? It's not that day. Or is it a few days?
It might not be that day, but it was
quick.
A few days shortly thereafter. Before I was right back off and running. So I had a job through a family friend.
Okay.
Construction crew. Walk right out to, something that physical labor.
Commercial construction or residential? What are we building?
More residential.
Okay, we're building houses on rooftops.
On rooftops, a little bit of everything, right?
Okay.
For like property maintenance and management company, big complex.
Pretty fortunate to have a job right out of prison.
Sure.
Guys really struggle to find a job.
I'm a kid. I'm 21 years old.
Yeah.
I have a violent felony on my record.
Right.
I have no employment history. I have no real education. I walked out with a GED.
Yeah.
And it's like, who wants to give me a chance, right?
And you're getting chances.
I got this chance.
Yeah.
And if I'm being honest, it was that first bad day.
Yeah.
I was like, man, F this. I'm out of here.
How long did that take?
A couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks, and you say, you know what, I don't do well with authority, and I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks, off and running.
Okay, where do we go now? What do we do now? We've left the job. You got to have money. You've got material wants. How do we solve this?
We go back to what we know.
Okay.
So at this point, my peer group, 21 years old. Most of them have gone off to college.
Okay.
Many of them are in the city.
Yeah.
You know, you have UPenn, you have Drexel, St. Joe's,
Wharton.
Villanova, Wharton School of Business.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them.
Yeah.
Temple. Great schools right there
Right.
downtown.
Right.
So I'm witnessing them just getting ready to finish up, going to grad school.
Yeah.
Like, they're at a good place.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I lost all this time. I squandered those opportunities.
Yeah.
None of those doors are open for me.
Yeah. You feel like an outsider,
Totally.
like an imposter.
I felt inadequate.
Yeah.
I felt like I got left behind
Yeah.
from the time I was told that I would end up in prison as a kid.
Yeah.
It felt like school wasn't necessarily the place for me, like I didn't belong there. I took that to mean you're not smart enough, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
So that was distant. And now here are my peers who are
In the right lane of traffic.
in the right lane,
Yeah.
continuing that education, and I am further and further left behind. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
So how do I catch up?
Yeah. The
other part of my peer group.
But you feel smart, though. There's no doubt about it. You feel confident. You feel smart. You feel like you can work. You're street smart. So that there's some confidence that comes with that.
In certain areas, sure.
Yeah. But I guess as you would look back at this mainstream existence, and that's what I call it, a mainstream existence with these other peers of yours, that probably looks like the route you're supposed to be on. And so that may give you some imposter syndrome, just looking at that. But there is some confidence that comes with being street smart, and you are definitely that. You're walking around real street smart, but you probably have some insecurity looking at the mainstream, because that's probably your conscience is telling you that's where I should be. Because that's the group that was with you at the private school. That's the group that went on in athletics.
I'd say that's accurate. I mean, there were times when I looked at them and said, man, like, I wish this was my life.
Right.
I wish I had gone this route.
Yeah. Did you blame yourself at all? Or is there a way for you to get back in your head and say, and just tell me clearly, maybe you can't. I mean, it seems like this is something you probably thought about, though. Are you able to get back in your frame of mind and identify, this is my fault? Or, no, they did this to me. The government, these authorities, these figures, the bishop who threw me out of the school, this is on them. And I'm where I'm at today because these fellas.
Oh, yeah,
That's where you are.
Totally my thinking. At this stage,
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
100%.
That's what I want to know.
Blame was on everyone and everything
This
else.
is not me. I'm a smart kid. I could have done it. I was athletic. They know that. They messed up. All right, interesting.
Yeah.
So this is where we are. And by the way, that's the recipe that continues to find us in this trap.
Yep.
Yeah, it's that thinking. Okay, so I'm trying to get to how long this thinking lasts, because clearly the guy in front of me today does not think that way. Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Matter of fact, you can teach college classes on how to not think this way. Yeah. So take me from we're back in it. What does back in it mean? Are we just burglarizing guns from FBI agents? What are we doing? What's back in it mean?
So back in it, this time around is a little bit different. My peer group has evolved a little bit.
Okay.
To those who were in the street are now doing fairly well.
Okay.
In the drug trade. This is the late 90s at this point.
All right.
Cocaine, ecstasy, ketamine.
Yeah. Oh,
you know,
ketamine's in there.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
It's all the club drugs.
Okay.
You know, at this time. And
Yeah.
they have a central role in the distribution of all these drugs throughout the clubs, the restaurants, the bars, all of those.
Okay.
And I just kind of step right into that, and I'm like, wow, this
Good
looks
money.
like fun.
Yeah, good money. Yeah.
It's good money. This looks like
The
fun.
club scene.
I'm like, and it puts me in a position to where I'm around a lot of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people want to be around me.
Yeah.
And my other, we'll call them my legitimate peer group, look at me almost in admiration now.
You're a player.
Going, wow,
Yeah.
like you have VIP access everywhere. Like, look at you.
Yeah.
Like, what a great life you're living. I'm struggling to get through school, and I don't
Yeah.
have money to pay the bills. And although it may have looked like that,
Yeah.
despite the fact I had all these people around me, I was more lost, more alone than ever before.
Yeah.
Because I realized that despite all the people and all the things, man, I was so empty.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. How much money's coming in?
I mean, as fast as it comes in, I can spend it.
But I mean, what kind of money? I mean, in the 90s, if you're making $50,000 to $75,000 a year, that's a lot of money. What kind of money's coming in?
I don't know. It'd be tough to put a number on that.
But you got a nice car? You got a nice apartment? I mean, how are you living?
I'm a 21-year-old kid who just got out of prison.
Right.
Who's like really trying to make a run of it.
Yeah.
But I'm spending it as fast as I get it.
On what?
Partying. A lot of it's
Okay.
partying.
Got it.
There's no thought to invest, to put anything towards something that's going to produce more.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, do I have enough to re-up on the drugs to cover these things? Like,
Yeah.
It's,
Are you being advanced, these drugs, or are you
Yeah.
buying to resell them?
yeah,
You're being advanced?
yeah.
So you've got to cover.
So I'm being advanced drugs. I am also doing collections on other debts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm digging myself in deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
Kind of continuing to live into the reputation that I have built for myself, which is clearly not a good one.
Yeah.
But as a guy who will do some pretty crazy things.
Yeah. You've manufactured this. It's part of your identity at this point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've now gotten the whole history.
Yeah.
Some of those highlights.
Yeah.
Starting with the FBI involvement at a very
Yeah.
young
Oh, yeah.
age.
Yeah.
Like, so there's almost like a legend behind
Yeah,
this.
you can handle yourself. Yeah.
You know, just trouble that's followed me, and I've always dealt with it. And
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, it's a fearlessness.
In certain circles, like that's it's
yeah.
highly looked
It's
upon.
reputational.
Right? Yeah, it's part of my reputation at
For
this
sure.
point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this guy will do anything.
Yeah.
If you want it done, give it to Adam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's part of it. And that's got to make you feel good. It's got to make you feel like you belong, you fit in here.
I'll give you a story.
Yeah.
One that I don't think I've ever shared publicly before.
Yeah.
One of those collections was, within this drug culture, within the clubs and all of this, there were other people who were trying to also do the same thing. But a particular group had everything locked down, and they kept trying to push. It was a small group, a guy, his girlfriend, and another guy. Might have been a couple other people involved. And they kept being warned, like, don't come around here. Like, this is not your space.
Yeah.
You've been warned. And they had gotten their final warning.
It's a territorial dispute.
Territorial dispute.
Yep.
And here's the sad thing, right? Like, they still looked at me as like somebody that they might be friendly with.
Got it.
So the irony is I was asked to take care of this,
Yeah.
to make sure that they got a clear message, not to come back.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they invited me to come to a party at their place that exact night.
Yeah. Okay. So
And I'm feeling deeply conflicted,
sure.
right? Because I'm like, this is someone who views me
Yeah. Friendly.
as someone that they would like to be friends with.
Sure.
And here I am, like, I've already committed to this thing.
To handling the enforcement.
And it's like, damn.
Yeah.
So I go to this party, and I get this guy, his girlfriend, and the other guy in the room, and end up taking all of their stuff. And this becomes a very public thing, right?
Okay.
And I walk out of this house, and there are people, I remember looking at me like, what in the hell is going on? What just happened here?
Yeah.
Right? And like inside, deep inside, like it was so unsettling. I'm
Yeah. Yeah. You can still feel it right
man,
now.
I do.
Yeah.
I do feel it right now. And I feel incredibly guilty for that. And I remember her saying, listen, that's our life savings. That's my daughter's, college
Right, yeah.
tuition. That's this and that. And I'm like, whether or not she was trying to run game, whatever it might have been.
Yeah.
It hit me inside, and I'm like, I don't want to be a part of this. This isn't what I want to be doing. This isn't what, I thought my life would become. But it's like, how in the hell do I get out of this?
Yeah. This was a defining moment, you would say?
I would say it was one of them. Clearly, it stuck to me. It's still, I'm still very
Your
uneasy about that.
conscience is offended by this.
Yes. Trust me, there is a lot that my conscience is offended by
Sure.
at this stage of my life. Even those FBI agents.
Yeah, right.
You know.
Yeah. But in this moment, when really you're hardened and somewhat calloused, in that moment, you were offended. Your conscience was offended at what you had to do to your friends.
Yes, despite the drugs, despite everything else that I was using to mask what was missing inside, I still felt it. It still resonated deeply. And I think that's an important part.
I do too.
Because it talks or speaks to, I'm going to say my character, really
your
at
potential.
my core of who I was meant to be.
Yeah.
And at some point early on, lost that.
Yeah. There's a conscience still alive there.
It was still there.
Yeah, because it showed up right there in the middle of the drug stuff and all your commitments to the other side. Interesting.
Which is interesting, right? Like I felt such a strong sense of commitment.
Yeah, you did.
That
to bad guys.
I still had to follow through and do this thing. That's that sense of loyalty where I've definitely misplaced.
Are you turning that money over just to kind of wrap this piece up? You've taken these people's money, okay, and you forcefully took it, right? That's part of the hard part of this. And do you turn that over? You give that to the guy who asked you to do it?
Parts of it.
All right, you keep some of it.
Yes.
Yeah, part of the payment for doing the
part of
work, the enforcement.
Yep.
And I guess in this moment, you're 22, 23. How old are you at this point?
About that.
22, 23.
Probably 20. I'm 23 at this point.
All right.
Because we've now taken this a couple years.
Yeah.
Things are pretty deeply ingrained, and it's about at this point where I'm ready to step out.
You would like to step out.
I'm stepping out. I'm cutting ties. And part of that was there was an intervention of sorts where local police, local authorities raided one of those stash houses, locked up most of that crew, caught them in one swoop.
At the stash house?
At the stash house, at a couple different, it was a coordinated
multiple location raid. Okay.
Thank God I wasn't picked up in that. I wasn't attached to it. Remember, I'm still on parole in New Jersey.
Sure.
I'm not even supposed to be in the city.
Yeah, you're on paper.
I'm on paper.
Yeah.
So I get word of this. I actually went to the place, cleaned some stuff out of there that was still there, got rid of some other stuff, and was like, I'm out. I'm done. And walked away in that moment, despite the fact some people weren't too happy about that.
Yeah, sure.
But there were too many things. Like everything was collapsing. Let me get away from here.
Yeah.
I've got a few months left on parole.
Okay.
6 months maybe at this time.
Okay.
Like, let me just ride this out and I can get out of here.
Yeah.
I got a friend who's down in Florida. Maybe I'll go down there. Maybe I'll try something new.
Stay quiet for 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
And that was the plan.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I went into parole. And
into your parole office?
I went in to report.
Okay.
Was kind of pushed to come in, like, you need to come in. And
we need to see you.
I show up and there's SWAT.
Oh, boy. Yep. At the office?
At the office, you know.
Okay.
So they take me into custody from there.
And why are they there?
Because I had tested positive on a prior
dirty UA
test. Dirty UA.
Okay.
So now they violate me, and a judge says, man, I'm going to teach you a lesson.
Oh, wow.
90 days, Camden County Jail, which at the time, Camden County is like Beirut, right?
Yeah,
it's
Camden,
the murder
New Jersey.
capital of the world.
Yeah.
Vicious place. Nobody wants to go into that county jail.
Yeah.
But I show up. These are all the guys I know.
Wow.
Right?
90 days.
Teaching me a lesson, when you think back, you know, when a judge wants to do that, especially to a young man, I'm going to teach you a lesson. I'm going to put you in jail for 90 days.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put you in a place that I know for you, a young white kid from South Jersey, that's not going to be a good experience for you.
Yeah.
Or that's their thinking.
Yeah.
Right? They don't know that I'm going to walk in there and these are people
that you know.
That I know, that I have a reputation from previously being in prison. And unfortunately, I'm welcomed in these circles.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad experience.
And it's not the best for you long term.
No.
There's no lesson to learn here.
There was no lesson. What I realized was how fragile my existence was, because my car that was out front gets towed, impounded, repossessed. My phone gets turned off, was in my property, disappears. All of the clothes, possessions, money, everything that I had on me also miraculously disappears.
Wow.
My house gets sold out from underneath me at the time. All of my possessions are put in basically garbage bags and thrown into a warehouse that one of my friends owns. And over 90 days, my whole life just basically evaporates. I realized
Who did all that?
which part?
The moving of your house out of your name and all that. These are friends?
There was a lot of different
These are not the authorities. These are friends.
friends. I mean, like the car, that was the authorities, and
The money?
everything missing from my property,
Yeah.
that was the authorities. And then other money that I had put up, money that I had in the street, collections, like,
Oh, forget
you
that.
know how that goes.
Forget that. Yeah.
So
how about the house? A
the
friend,
house was a
friend took the
different-
house?
I'm not living legitimately, right? So
Sure.
everything that I do is
He's
like
somewhat vulnerable.
is in a gray area.
It's in somebody else's name. Yeah.
Right, which puts me in a vulnerable position
Sure.
that I don't necessarily realize up until this point where I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, what do I have to show? Now
I got nothing. I got nothing.
I walk out the back of Camden County. They open the slider, let me out, and I'm just thinking, run. Because I'm afraid Philly is going to come pick me up on an open
Yeah, yeah.
DWI.
Right. An
some
open
other stuff.
warrant. Yeah.
So they're coming to get
A
me.
detainer.
I'm in flip-flops, bus pants, and a T-shirt. It's January on the East Coast.
Wow.
Freezing. And I have a bill for the cost of my incarceration because they charge you per day.
Okay. What's
So,
that bill? What's that bill? I was
don't know.
curious.
Like $1,500, whatever it was. It was something
You owe
outrageous. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
They send you a bill. You owe. They hand it to you on the way
give
out.
it to you.
And we'd like you to
Here's-
cut a
here's
check
your
for this.
bill, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
That ensures that whatever money you had in your account,
Yeah.
you're not getting it.
Yeah.
So I walk out with literally nothing but this bill in my hand, which I crumple up and
Yeah.
toss. I'm like, that's never going to get paid.
Right.
And I take off. I jog down the street to the McDonald's where I bum change from the McDonald's worker who also gives me a cigarette,
Sure.
right? Because she's like, oh, you look like you just got out of prison.
Yeah.
You're having a rough day, huh?
Yeah.
Let me help you out.
Give you a cigarette.
And I get on the phone and I call one of the guys that I did time with in the state who was all too ready to come pick me up.
Yep.
Hey, what do you need?
We got work to do.
I got you. And over the course of the next 3 weeks, I commit a string of robberies.
Wow.
Of primarily illegal businesses. Not to get too deep into any of that, just to kind of summarize it, my young, immature thinking still at this point
Yeah.
is these are all people who are involved in illegal activity.
Okay.
They can't be victims if they're in the game too.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm still trying to rationalize this.
You've identified these burglaries to be the targets of these burglaries are businesses that are not legitimate,
Correct.
and you know that, and that's the reason they're a target
Exactly.
because
They're
there's no
not gonna
they
go
got nowhere to
law-
run.
They're not going to law enforcement.
Yeah.
They're not.
Got it.
And also, again, I don't see them as being victims.
Sure.
Since they're in the game.
Yeah.
So over the course of the next 3 weeks, commit this string of robberies. Ultimately, it catches up.
With a team of guys.
Team of guys.
Okay.
This last one, SWAT team shows up
While you're in progress.
in progress.
Okay. Wow.
But there's a lot of people. And honestly, it would have been very difficult for them to make a case, for them to really sort these things out if it wasn't for the same guy that came to pick me up at McDonald's. Started right then and there saying, no, here's what's going on. And I'm not going back to prison. I have information related to organized crime,
Wow.
drug trafficking,
Wow.
and all of these other things that I think the FBI, the DEA, and the ATF will be very interested to hear from me about.
Mr. McDonald's has got all this to say.
Yes.
Yeah. Organized crime,
Yep.
which is made up.
Ding, 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 ding.
Which is made up.
It's not factual.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that.
All right. Yeah.
But at the time, the FBI has built this huge case against reputed, at the time, they were saying he was the alleged mob boss,
Yeah.
Joey Merlino
Yeah.
of Philadelphia. The feds had come after him.
Yeah.
They had lost.
Yeah.
They were not happy about it. Whatever they could do to get a conviction.
Yeah,
They were
sure.
like, we need this guy. So as this guy starts saying, yeah, we were connected to him through this drug trafficking and all of these other things, that gets the FBI involved again.
Wow.
And that's why they immediately show up. They take our case, and it just snowballs from there.
It moves it from a state crime
Correct.
to a federal crime.
Yep.
Because we've got RICO, racketeering, organized crime basically is involved.
Whenever the federal government wants to find
they
a
can
law,
classify it. Yeah.
It's Article 3 Commerce Clause that allows them to take jurisdiction over conventional state crimes.
Yeah. So that's what they've done in your
that's what they
case.
did.
How many guys were arrested that night in the big burglary where the SWAT showed up?
4 of us.
Okay.
And there was one other who was picked up later.
As a part of it.
Yes.
Is somebody doing all the talking? Because I'm envisioning most guys are not talking, but there must be someone doing a lot of talking.
There's just one.
One, the McDonald's guy.
The McDonald's guy.
He's got a lot to say.
Yep.
And so he does all the talking, and that ends up, is this the ultimate crime where we get sentenced to 213 years?
Correct. So FBI pulls me in.
Yeah.
And basically says, we know everything.
We got your whole rap sheet, bud.
We've got all this.
Yeah.
You're done.
You're done.
You have no choice here.
Yeah.
You have to cooperate.
Yeah.
The alternative is we're going to give you a couple hundred years. And I'm like, listen, this isn't my first rodeo.
Yeah,
You
right.
can't threaten me like that.
Right.
Like, you can't give me a couple hundred years, whatever.
Right.
And I blow it off.
You're alone with these guys, or you have an attorney in the room?
At the time, probably no attorney.
Your first meeting with them.
First meeting.
They're taking 302
Listen,
notes.
It didn't even matter when the attorney was there because I had my first attorney, who has since gone to federal prison himself, was telling me, you just need to cooperate with him. If you don't cooperate with him, I can't help you.
Sure.
And I was like, first of all, you were recommended to me through your cousin, who, if he had any idea that you were saying that, he would definitely have an issue with that. I was like, that's not going to happen. So you need to leave. He was like, well, all I'm telling you is, because I told him, I said, listen, or he had told me, he said, all they want to know about is the drug trafficking, like this, with the links to these guys. And I'm like, it's not even true. He said, it doesn't matter if it's true or not.
We've got a story, and I'd like you to help us with it.
That's what you need to say.
Right.
I'm like, wow, you need to leave.
How about that?
And man, I could get into all the court and the trial stuff, which is just, it's hard to believe even all these years later. It's a bit surreal, but it happened. I ended up, going to trial. I felt like that was my only option because I wasn't prepared to
tell a story, put other people in the same predicament where I was. I was like, listen, I'm not putting other people in here with a life sentence. I'm going to take my chances. We'll see how it goes. My 2 co-defendants chose to come to trial with me. One other did not. He left and joined the other one. And there are times where I have said, you know what? Like, I don't even really fault you for that. Like, I mean, self-preservation, I think maybe kicked in at some point. Yeah, it's our primary instinct.
And they made that choice. For me, that was a decision. Now, just to be clear, I deeply regret everything that I did, those instances that I told you about, and a whole lot of other things that I did. I regret all of that. What I don't regret is my decision not to pass that off to somebody else at that point. To say, listen, it's going to stop here. If I get the life sentence, I'll figure it out. I'll deal with it. Maybe somehow, some way I'll get another chance. And ultimately, that's what happened. Went to trial, lost, convicted on every count.
All counts.
All counts. So I had a mandatory minimum of 205 years. And then I also received the low end of the guideline range, which was 96 to 110 months. I got the 96, which is 8 years. So tack that on to the 205 minimum.
213.
Brings us up to 213. And then plus, 3 years supervision.
What was the 8 for, the gun?
No, here's the irony. The 8 was for the actual robberies.
Oh, okay.
So for sentencing purposes, they all need to be grouped. So I got 96 months for each one, but they have to run concurrent.
Sure.
It's the way that the code's written. Conversely, the guns, it's the only statute where you can be charged with multiple and they all must run consecutive to one another and to the underlying. So that additional 5 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25
are guns.
Are guns. That's where all the time comes from.
Oh, okay. Weapons.
Yes.
Okay. Where are these weapons?
Oh man, now we're getting into like legal, technical arguments whether they were actually possessed and
were they at
who
the burglary?
Had what gun and
were
what
they,
time?
Were
Yes.
they were at somewhere
Yes.
at the burglary?
I can just easily summarize it by saying, at this stage of my life, I always had a gun on me.
Yeah, sure.
Period. So,
But to get to 12, it had to be multiple guns. You didn't have multiple guns on you.
no, it's not multiple guns. It's guns during the commission
of a crime.
of an underlying crime. So each time I committed one of those
Oh, I
crimes.
see. Each of the crimes and the gun.
Exactly.
Got it.
So attached to each count of robbery
Is a gun charge.
is a gun charge. There you go.
And those have to run consecutive, cannot run concurrent.
Correct.
What's that about?
Well, that law no longer exists.
Okay.
So it was repealed, but not made retroactive.
By the Sentencing Commission? Who repealed it?
Congress actually did.
Okay.
Donald Trump during the signed the First Step Act of
So that's been
2018.
repealed as part of the First Step Act?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Oh, that's the only reason I'm here.
How about that?
Yep.
Okay, so you go down hard, very loyal to the crew.
Yes.
I'm not snitching, I'm not ratting, I'm going in with my reputation,
Yep.
and I'm doing 212, 213. And if you give me good time, I'm doing 192 or whatever the thing is, right? But
Funny side note.
yeah.
When I used to go to team.
Yeah.
You know, you go to team every
Sure.
quarter, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I used to make them print my good time.
Yeah.
Pages of it.
Yes.
Can I get a good time calculation, please? And they'd be like, "Come on, Clausen. Like, you really want to do that
It was
again?
like 30
Go get
years.
it."
I mean, what was it?
Yeah, it was it's something
Something
ridiculous.
crazy like that.
Yeah.
It's like more than people get in their time
Yes.
is your good time.
Yes.
And good time for the audience to know is 15% in a federal sentence
Yeah.
of the total sentence. Yeah.
And I would do that just to mess with them
Wow.
because I had nothing coming.
Nothing
You know,
coming.
like there's no reason. Nobody wants to see me, talk to me about a release plan.
Yeah,
or
nobody's
about
looking to get you out.
What you're doing. Nobody cares what I'm doing.
No.
They're like, just please don't cause us any problems.
Yeah.
And go find something to do.
Yeah, make yourself useful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're inside.
Yep.
We're doing 213 in your mind. You're going to die in there. That's you in your mind. Are you thinking you're going to die in there?
No.
You're not. What are you thinking?
So the day that we were convicted,
Yeah.
not sentenced, convicted, jury comes back, guilty, guilty, guilty. I know how much time I'm getting because of the mandatory minimums. I know I've got a life sentence.
Okay.
So we're in the cages in the back behind the courtroom.
Yeah.
You know, it's quiet back there. Everybody knows that we just got convicted.
All right.
It's usually a madhouse, but
Yeah.
it's like eerily quiet.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, I'm in the cage with my two co-defendants. The three of us this didn't turn out well.
Yeah, solemn.
And I start laughing.
Okay.
And they both look at me like, uh-oh,
He's cracking up.
he's losing it.
Yeah, he's cracking up.
He's losing it.
Yeah.
And they look concerned, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it's good. And they're like, it's not good. Bro, it is not
Yeah,
good.
we just heard it. It's not good.
I said, no. I said, listen, I'm not going to be Kevin. They're like, Kevin? Who the hell is Kevin?
Right.
So I have to explain to them, when I was upstate, you know, that 18 to 30-year-old group, one of the guys from my neighborhood committed the vicious, heinous crime. New boyfriend and the girlfriend caught up to him, had him in the trunk of his car for a long time. Anyways, double homicide. This was the most miserable guy you could ever imagine.
Kevin.
And anytime guys on the yard would see him coming, they'd be like, oh, damn, here comes Kev.
All right.
And this, like, nobody wanted to be around him. But I used to say all the time, like, I can't imagine
Yeah.
what it's like to walk in his shoes. So, man, give this dude a break, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's got a lot going on.
Heavy.
He's never getting out.
Never.
Like, everybody knows, like, his case is like, they're never going to let him out.
Yes.
And I made a conscious decision in that moment with what I knew was going to be a mandatory life sentence.
In the cage.
I said, I'm not going to be Kevin. I'm not going to be that miserable guy. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to hold on to hope, and I'm going to live every day as if at some point common sense is going to prevail, right? Like, I didn't do anything to warrant a couple 100 years. Right. Like, this is spiteful. This is because I wouldn't cooperate. It's whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to get another chance. I don't know when it's going to be, but I'm not going to give up.
Wow.
And hey, we got appeals. That's where we start, right? Like, we've got appeals. Don't worry about it. We've got a million issues.
This is your thinking in the cage.
Yes.
At guilty plea. I mean, at a conviction.
As soon as I'm convicted, yes.
Wow. And how do the fellas respond to that? They think you're delusional?
At this point, yeah,
They're receiving
delusional.
this delusional. Yeah, he is cracking up.
They're like, okay.
Yeah, this is pretty strong, though. This speaks, again, to not just character. Character is not the right word. This speaks to your resolve. There's something going on inside your constitution that is strong, very strong. And it's been that way maybe since you were 10. I mean, it's been that way all along. It's kind of a thread that's run through this whole story. Mm-hmm. And so, interestingly enough, you call on it in this moment because there's nothing else to call on.
No.
Matter of fact, I call it brainwashing. There's some power in taking control of your own brainwashing. Yeah. Because if you control it, you can kind of keep control of whatever power is left to solve your situation. If you leave it to external forces, it may never happen. Yeah. So that's where you are. Yep. You're in that moment going deep inside. Interesting. Even if it is a coping mechanism, it's your constitutional coping mechanism. Wow. Pretty powerful. All right. So now we're inside. Is this holding up? I mean, this takes some, you got to put some bricks on this. Mm-hmm. You can't just, in the cage, make a determination, I'm not going to be Kevin. You now have to build a life around this belief.
Well put. Yeah, very much. Got to really live into this. I can't just talk about it. It can't just be a thought.
You got to put layers on this.
Yep.
So talk to me about how you did that.
And I'm going to say it was a long process.
Yeah.
Right? Because it took me a long time to get to that point where, I've been living a certain way.
Yeah.
And if I'm being honest about it, it's not like I walked into prison. It was like ready to flip a switch and somehow give up all the negative.
Yeah.
That had become my identity, right?
Yeah,
like
your reputation.
It was I walked into prison.
Yeah.
And before I got to my cell, I had a drink.
Yeah.
I had a smoke. And I had a knife.
Yeah.
Before I got to my cell, I didn't even know where I was sleeping.
Yeah.
But I'm a good guy.
Yeah.
And they were waiting for me.
Yeah.
Just like every other time.
Yeah.
Only, this place is a little bit more serious. I'm in a level 6 United States penitentiary.
Yeah.
But it's the same welcome, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, almost like, this is where you belong. You're one of us.
Yeah, and this is where the animals are. I want the audience to understand that the USP is where the animals are. This is where the gang leaders are. This is where the cartel leaders are. This is where you get killed. This is where people get hurt every day. This is where stabbings occur. It's where murder occurs easily. True. And this is inside the Bureau of Prisons. And I just want to give the audience just a little classification here. There are no white-collar camps. There are camps. There are low-level security prisons. There are medium security prisons. These are for men. And then there's USPs. And USPs are where this is what they call hard time, the big house. This is danger every day. Now, you may say, and I know you lived it, and the audience has not been here for the most part. You may say you had friends there, but they're not all friends. Okay, there's 3 or 4 dudes who are looking after you and going to show you the ropes and tell you who to look out for and this kind of stuff. But this is enemy territory, and you've got to kind of make your way there. You've got to navigate gangs. You've got to navigate what they call prison politics, which is not Democrat and Republican. Okay, it's a different kind of politics.
Different politics.
Yeah, it's very different.
That's right.
It's inmate rules, not societal rules, and that's all different in the Fed system. Mm-hmm. So. Take us through it. How'd you navigate this? And at the same time, you're reinventing yourself here. Your reputation, which is probably going to help you survive the first 30 days, is probably not who you are. So, I mean, this is a tough situation. But you're not psychologically considering all that, I wouldn't think. But there is a transformation that must occur for you to be right here today. So take us through it.
Sure. So even though I had a certain resolve that this was not going to be my life, very accurate description saying that when I walked in, like my reputation served me well.
Yeah.
My time, everybody knew the time that I had. They knew my background. So it's
it's a resume.
And again, my arrogance at 24 years old.
Yeah, that's amazing. In the USP at 24.
And it caused people to like pause, like, is this kid crazy?
Right. Or dangerous.
I went in there being hyper aggressive.
Yeah.
Everything that I did was like just
bold
with force, and like to the point where I think other people just paused.
Sure.
And it was enough to give them pause because, as you pointed out, like in those environments, the consequences are much higher.
Yeah.
I think part of it was maybe almost my ignorance to a degree of I didn't pay attention to like everyone who was around me.
Yeah.
I didn't say, well, this is so-and-so, like this is a famous gangster or a famous spy or whomever.
Yeah.
I just kind of, I was like, yeah, so what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like people saw that and they're like, wait a minute, like you're supposed to like give people a certain
respect,
like more respect.
Yeah.
I would give respect, but like you're not getting anything extra from me.
Yeah, right.
And there was a certain attitude or air that I had that people couldn't figure out, like, is he just young or is he like really like
criminally insane?
Yeah. Do we need to be this concerned of him? And it just gave me enough space to operate, which independently. So obviously as a white guy, I'm with the white guys.
Yep.
But I never clicked up. I was never part of an organization.
Okay.
Although strangely, there were times where I was in a position to lead. Yeah. Both there and elsewhere to a degree. You know, guys talk about having the keys to the yard.
Sure.
I never had that role. I never wanted that role.
Yeah.
I found myself in certain positions to where there were times where I had to step up and take the lead.
Sure.
Because people were going to die. Yeah. And ultimately part of that was self-preservation. Yeah. Because being a white guy as a minority in that environment, if a racially motivated riot kicks off, I'm in trouble.
Absolutely.
Right? And two parts to this. One, honestly, at this point in my life, like I didn't want to see anybody else die. Yeah. I had seen other people in the USP die. I didn't want to see anyone else go through that. I didn't want to be in that position myself. And I was also, you know, by the time that I started exerting more of my leadership, like I was invested in my future. I'm like, I was starting to believe that I was someday at some point was going to get a second chance. And I'm like, if this goes down, I'm going to be involved. And like you get riot on your record. It's
Forget
like,
about it.
Nobody's ever going to want to give me that second chance. It's going to say, you have a past of violence, you continued that in prison, we're sure not going to let you out. So
Adam, just for a moment here, I want you to continue, but I want the audience to get this piece. You've manufactured this hope. There is no evidence that says you're getting out of here.
True.
There's no case managers pulled you in and said, hey, look, I got an idea. These conversations have never happened.
No.
They've happened in the privacy of your mind, right? And you're making decisions in the yard about how you conduct yourself and how you live based on a manufactured hope. Am I right?
That's very accurate.
Yeah. So this is interesting. Whether you're in a prison or in a neighborhood, if you just got to manufacture hope to get through a situation, then that's what you got to do. Because most people don't have the courage. It takes courage and maybe a little insanity, okay? which I'm okay with. I'm a firm believer that if that's part of the ingredients, then let's do it. But in manufacturing this, you not only believe it, but you're making decisions to choose violence or not. And frankly, these are survival decisions. You're making decisions about your daily movements, and you're playing chess every day. And I mean life chess. Mm-hmm. Okay, you may have played chess too, but I mean life chess based on a manufactured hope. So would you go as far as to say that if I was in there with you and I said, hey, look, what are you talking about getting out of here? Why do you keep saying this? This is stupid. And you continue to say it, and it's affecting the way we move here in the yard. Would you be really upset about that? Would you resist that completely if I try to take that hope from you? Would you be resistant to it, or would you just kind of let that go? I mean, I'm trying to figure out how firm this is, because this is clearly manufactured. It's completely made up. There's nothing. I know the criminal justice system. I know the Bureau of Prisons. They don't let guys like you out.
So here's what I'll say. I don't think anyone ever directly opposed me that way.
Okay.
I think that there might have been like subtle
like, hey, dude.
gestures towards like,
come on, man. Dude, you got 213. What are you talking about?
So there was no reason for me to aggressively push back.
But would you?
They didn't put me in that position. I probably would have.
Because you believe it. I'm trying to get to the belief level here.
A irrational belief in myself. So it's probably important to kind of explain how I get there.
Yeah, how do you get there?
What started out as just a belief that, okay, I need to start doing things differently, and eventually I'm going to get a second chance, to ultimately where I end up is a seemingly irrational belief in myself, in my abilities to manufacture a means to get out of prison, to have the life that I envision for myself. Like, it's somehow I get to that. And that's a process that takes place over the first 10 years.
Wow.
Is me focusing on figuring out who I am.
Yeah.
What those unfulfilled underlying needs were, namely to be loved.
Yeah.
And realizing, okay, that has driven me to do a lot of things that were extremely unhealthy, unproductive.
Yeah.
So I need to figure out how to address that.
To be accepted.
To cultivate some self-love, greater self-awareness, a sense of self-efficacy, really finding out who I am. So I go on this introspective journey.
Through books? What do you mean?
Through a ton of books.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point...
Name some of the books. Because there's people trying to do what you're talking about right now.
A favorite book is, the number one that I recommend all the time is Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning.
Yep.
So read that in the hole of all places, and that'll make you think like, okay, I don't have it so bad right now.
I got it pretty good compared to Viktor.
This guy could do it. Yeah, it shifted my perspective.
Okay.
And it also taught me through him seeing himself in his mind's eye, envisioning, even in spite of all of his suffering within the moment, watching all this chaos and death around him, that he envisioned himself in the classroom years ahead, teaching his students, and like that being his purpose. Like, I have to get through this so that I can teach them in the future. That's what got him through.
He made it all up.
Made it all up.
Manufactured it.
I use that as a tool.
Yeah.
And that's how I started seeing it. I said, I have to take this experience and picture myself outside of prison, being able to do all of the things that I want to do, and being able to change the circumstances that led me here, to make sure that others don't end up in here. Like, that's my role, that's my responsibility. Now I just need to get out the door. Like, that almost becomes secondary.
Yes.
It's like, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
How do I get out?
It's a matter of fact in your mind.
Yes.
Yeah. So books, you went on the journey of self-discovery through books, through mentors. Were there some inmates in there that were mature and wise?
There was my first mentor, a guy named Kevin McTaggart.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he's still in there, almost 40 years in now.
Wow.
But he's a guy who's down the gym, has carved out space. He's a power lifter. People who power lift, Louis Simmons, famous guy, like all-American power lifter, was close with Louis Simmons. So like everybody's like, man, Kev's like, he's the guy, the workout guy down here. sees me down there, this young guy who's still like kind of off the rails.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you come in here, you train hard, like the energy that you have, like you need to channel this and do something with it.
Yeah.
Like, clearly you've got something. What do you want to do?
These are conversations you're having in the weight with the weights in the weight
I'm
pile.
having with him in the weight pile. He's like, why don't you come work out with me?
He wants to talk to you.
He's like, you need to get with me. I'm like, okay. I'm like,
This old guy's got something to say.
if I'm going to get with anybody,
Yeah.
after seeing him, how he moved, the level of respect
Yeah.
that he had,
Yeah.
the lines that he could cross.
Yeah.
Like staff, the warden, Mr. McTaggart, how are you today? The respect that they showed him. I'm like,
Political lines.
I don't know how this guy is doing it,
Yeah. He's got respect.
but I realized like I can learn something from him.
Yeah. If I'm going to have a lot of time in here, this guy's movements are worth emulating.
His movements are worth emulating. The level of respect that he has,
Yeah.
and he is sound state of mind.
Yeah.
Whereas, some guys who've done a lot of time,
Or not. They're institutional.
Yeah, there's like a cliff that some guys go
For
off,
sure.
and I'm like, that's not going to be me.
For
so
sure. Well said.
let me get with somebody who's clearly on the right path, and he opened up doors. He gave me access to literally the physical materials,
Wow.
the books, the DVDs, everything health, fitness related,
Wow.
physiology, anatomy, nutrition, like you name it. I got access to all these things. I devoured them. I found this passion for fitness.
Yeah.
This guy has carved out physical space in the gym for me to come alongside him, to work with him, to learn from him as he mentors me, as I continue to learn. And then he's like, okay, do you want your own class? Like, I'll open up space. You can have your own thing.
Wow.
It's time for you to do that. That evolves into me taking over all of the rec classes, to where I led literally thousands
Wow.
of classes. And now I'm the fitness guru,
Yeah.
right? My identity has shifted
Yeah.
from that guy
Yeah.
that everyone was cautious of when I came in.
The kid that's unbound.
Yes.
Yeah.
To now, oh, you want to get right? Go see Adam.
How about that?
I don't drink. I don't smoke.
Yeah.
I eat healthy.
Yeah.
I'm on the yard every single day working out.
Yeah.
Guys know where to find me. That's my space.
Yeah. You
I-
flipped your reputation
All of it. Yes.
internally,
Not just internally, like my reputation
externally.
has expanded
Yeah.
throughout the Bureau of Prisons. Like guys in other jails,
Yeah.
like now know me, my institutional reputation.
Yeah.
Not as some gang leader or
Yeah.
some,
Guy
some,
that took a
some
FBI
guy
guy's gun.
that's running around stabbing people in prison.
Right.
Like that's generally how people build reputations in
Sure.
prison, doing crazy
work,
stuff.
but in work.
Like I'm the fitness guru.
Yeah.
And people in other prisons have heard of me in this way, and I'm like, there's a sense of pride. It's like,
Absolutely.
why did it take me coming
This
to
is something
prison,
you can bank on.
right?
Yeah.
To find this, and in doing this, and now sharing this passion with others,
Yeah.
for the first time, I feel a sense of purpose. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is what I'm supposed to be
Yeah.
doing.
Your purpose.
This is where I'm meant to be. I know that I have these leadership capabilities. I know
Yeah.
that people are drawn to me.
Yeah.
Here's an opportunity for me to do something positive, to
Right.
give. Now I feel like I'm on the right path.
And
This
it's
is
healthy.
where I was meant
It's
to be.
so healthy for
Yep.
the mind and the body.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this goes on. I mean, I've read the story. I mean, it goes on into classes. It goes from prison to prison. It goes into you teaching certified classes that are now taught in other prisons today.
Yep.
Yeah. Tell us, if you would, because this is interesting. All inmates, when they come to prison, go through what they call, it's A&O is what the inmates call it.
Yep.
And that stands for what?
Admissions and orientation.
Okay. And that's a new inmates required class to kind of get introduced to the culture for the very first time.
That's a nice way of putting it. Yes.
And it's a waste of time. In most prisons,
There
you check the box. Please, God, don't ask any questions. If you ask any questions, you're going to hear from us later.
Yeah.
And the staff's involved in this, and it's a way just to kind of get it done, check the box, and get the hell out of there. But in your situation, you realize that this is the key to our culture. This A&O is the first gateway through which all inmates pass. And if I can kind of get in that room, I can control the culture here. So tell us kind of what happens there with A&O.
So, yeah, I had the great honor of being the closing speaker at every A&O for about 8 years.
My goodness. Wow.
And that means every 2 weeks, this bus comes in.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's a hostile crowd. Guys are coming in on disciplinary transfers. They're like, why do I got to be here?
Yeah.
And staff, for their part, as you said, like, don't ask any questions.
No.
They come in there a lot of times openly hostile, saying, this is my compound. This is how we run it.
Yeah.
If you don't pay attention, you don't listen, you break any one of these rules, you're going straight to the shoe. You want to go right now? You can go right now.
Yeah, no problem.
And then I get to come in.
Yeah.
I say, hey, guys.
Yeah, I'm one of you.
I got some good news for you.
Yeah.
And they're like, who the hell? You're wearing khakis, man. What are you doing up there?
Right.
And
this is very unusual. I want the audience to understand what Adam's discussing right now. I've not heard of this. This is very unusual that an inmate is permitted to take any role in an A&O class.
yes,
Big time.
very unusual.
Yeah.
And it was not welcomed by staff most of the time.
No.
I fought very hard to keep this role. And I felt a great sense of responsibility to, despite all of the challenges that I faced in this role, to continue doing it every other week. And I should start by saying I had a fear of public speaking that led to me physically feeling ill like 2 days before.
Every A&O.
So every single A&O for like the first 3-4 years, I'm physically ill days in advance. Thinking about, I got to go in front of this group again.
And it is a hostile crowd. This is not like people who have paid tuition to sit there and listen to Adam Clausen's view of things. No, this is a group that's been forced into this room. They are required to be in this room, and they want you to stop talking quickly.
Yes, it's the end of the day. They've been beat down. They're like, just let us out of here. And I'm like, no. I've got some good news, some stuff you need to hear. So they're generally a reluctant audience. But I learned the power of my sentence. All I had to do was tell them my name.
And I've got 213.
My time. I've got a 213-year sentence. And they're like, wait, what did he say? 213
I think he said
months?
213.
I'm like, no, it's 213 years.
Right.
I've been in X amount of time. And the longer that time is, the more credibility you
100%.
have. So wait a minute. This guy has 213 years. That equates to he's serious. He's done something to warrant this time.
Right.
Okay, you've got my attention. He's been in how long?
Right.
Wait a minute, what the hell?
Right.
Like,
serious stuff.
This is somebody, okay, and everyone's now listening.
And he's got something to say.
Yes. So I have their attention. Now it's, listen, let me tell you about what we're doing here. This place is different. You've probably already noticed, even though you've only been here a minute or two, but this place is very different. Myself, my colleagues, we're here to support you, help you get involved in programs, right? And I do this because I want to make sure that you don't end up in the same situation I'm in, right? I wish somebody would have done this for me 20 plus years ago when I went through the system the first time.
Wow.
We're going to help make sure that this is the last time.
Wow.
And then here's what we do, blah, blah, blah. And I'd run down, listen, we're going to enroll you in this first program. You're going to come back here in a few days. We're going to have a good time. We're going to spend about 2 hours together. And that class is going to help get you your first credits, whether it is you want to get out of here on the next bus or whether you want to, get enrolled or ready for a halfway house, whatever that looks like. We're going to help put you on that path. We're here to help you come up with a plan to get to where you want to be, both in here and once you're released.
Psychologically.
Guys are like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, having had the experience of A&O and having been on the other side of this gives you, Adam, a unique vantage point into every inmate that's representing the yard you're in. Mm-hmm. As they come in, their first influence that's positive is another inmate.
Yes.
And so from now on, over the years that go by, you're the guy to go to, because not only are you positive from the health and fitness standpoint, but you're the first guy they heard from that gave them a sense of hope that they can do this. And they have probably had less time than you. You've not met anybody with 213. Nobody's going to come through there and say, oh, that's too bad, I got 400. No, everybody's less. And they think their 20's a lot. And they think their 30's a lot. And so I can see the power that would have. Mm-hmm. Did you do, I think I read or you may have told me personally, you did that very heavy psychological profile on these inmates too, to their benefit, the Myers-Briggs program.
So
Tell us about that.
That was that first class that I was mentioning.
Okay.
So we would enroll everyone who came through A&O. This kind of evolved over time. There were a number of iterations that we went through.
Sure.
Ultimately, what we did was take the Myers-Briggs, which
is the definitive,
widely accepted, right?
Yeah.
We use it across, business. So we know the value of it. Finding that there is a true colors, which is a version of it. It's a simplified version. That wasn't quite enough, right? Because we still have guys who come through that, due to education, just other hurdles, we wanted to make the language more accessible.
Yeah.
So we just changed it up a little bit so that everyone, when they came into this, the examples that we used were more relative to that environment. And to be honest, it made it a whole lot more fun. It got people engaged.
Yeah.
And they're like, they picked everything up, and they used the terms, the concepts, the vernacular in a way that allowed everyone to really start communicating a little bit more clearly. Like, okay, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I know, I understand you now.
You're an expressive.
And I understand myself a little bit better.
Yes.
So that was
you found treasure in who they were as a person. You found the value in each of them. Because the Myers-Briggs is clearly set up to identify your strengths. Yeah. And they've probably never had anybody tell them their strengths.
Nope.
Ever.
Nope.
So they're, again, in a position to go back to their cellmate, their cellie, and have a conversation. Hey, did you do that thing? Are you an ET&J? What are you? Oh, no, man, I'm this, that. Oh, yeah, I figured that. I figured you were that. Yeah, so that's incredible what that would do to the culture.
Yes.
So that's happening all over the yard.
That helped to shape things from maybe not day one, but week one, week two.
Yeah.
And it allowed people to acclimate to the existing culture.
Sure.
It formed that sense of inclusiveness. Like, now everybody's kind of speaking the same language. We've got everybody on the same path. Like, this is a place where you can program, where you can get all the support that you need. Like, things are different here. And now all of a sudden guys are like, man, I don't want to leave here.
Right.
This is a sweet spot.
They don't want to transfer.
No, everybody wants to come here now. They all want to be a part of this. But, like all good things, that too came to an end. Because as you know, when you have administrative changes.
The warden switches out.
Wardens switch out, and if you get someone who's more authoritarian and feels the need to dominate, to express that, they see those things as a threat. So,
Where are we here? Which prison? Danbury? Where are you?
No, this would have been McKean. So I think this is probably an important point to make. That first 10 years allowed me to discover who I was, find that passion for all things health, wellness related, then discover my sense of purpose, sharing it with others. I was very comfortable.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that I'm in a United States penitentiary.
Right, USP.
For the first time in my life, I'm at peace. I'm doing my Zen thing. I'm out in the yard doing yoga, with like some of the toughest gangsters, in the country. And I'd look around, I'd be like, oh, this is crazy.
Yeah, you're comfortable.
This is crazy, but this is good for me right here. Like, I don't want things to change. And then, of course, I meet a woman.